Hello and welcome to the peer discussion webinar, a focus on procurement. My name is Jamil with the OJP TFSC. Before we begin, there are a few announcements I would like to share. This live discussion webinar is being hosted by the OJP, or the Office for Justice Programs. If you have any technical issues during this session, please contact Jamil Evans in the chat or just email us at ojptfsc@usdoj.gov. You can access the information brochure and the FAQs with the links provided in the chat. To ask a question during this session, please use the chat box on the right-hand side of your Zoom screen. In order to have the most accurate attendance, please use the chat box to tell us the number of people joining you on the call, including yourself. Everything except for the Q&A discussion will be recorded, and live captions are available during the session. You can access those by clicking the captions link at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Since your feedback is so important to us, at the end of the webinar, we will provide a survey link, and please just fill that out anytime you're available to. So before we begin, let's go over a couple of Zoom tips. On the bottom left-hand side of your screen, you see a microphone icon. You just click that to unmute. Click it again, and you'll see a red slash. That's how you know you're muted. Again, if you're not speaking today, please ensure you mute yourself just to avoid any background noise or any interruptions. To the right of the microphone icon, you see a video icon. You just click that to start your video. Click it again, you see a red slash. That's how you know your video is disactivated. To the right of those icons, you see a chat icon. You click that to open your chat screen, and this is where we'll communicate with everyone on the platform today. You also have the option to send public chats and private chats. If you want to send a private chat, you just click that little drop-down button and just select the person you want to send your message to. We also can change our viewing options. So on the top right-hand side of your Zoom screen, you can go with gallery view, or you can go with speaker view, where you can see who's just speaking at that time. So let's meet our presenters. First presenter is Russ Bermejo. He is a senior training and technical assistance specialist for the OJP TFSC. We'll also have Carlin Hertz. He's a financial specialist for the OJP TFSC, serving the American Samoa, Northern Mariana Islands, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. We'll also have Francis Mendez. He's a project director for the OJP TFSC. Francis has a background in law, social work, and business administration. Last and certainly not least, we'll have Crystal McNeil Wright. She's an associate CFO for the Grants Financial Management Division in the Office for Justice Programs, and she brings more than 30 years of leadership and management experience. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to our first presenter, Russ.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So on behalf of my teammates at the OJP TFC and my colleagues at OCFO, I want to welcome you to our webinar today. Today marks actually the 13th webinar that the TFC has done, and it's the 5th one that we've done with the US Virgin Islands. And we've had just a really great time being able to put out these events. And today's webinar is going to be a little different than the ones that we've conducted earlier this year. And I'll explain here in a few minutes. But today I just want to give you kind of a lay of the land and what you can expect this morning. After I give my welcome and the rationale and the reason why we decided to do a peer discussion webinar, our plans are to have a grantee sharing spotlight where you'll hear from one of your peers. We'll have a discussion around that. And then we'll also have a learning activity where you'll be able to answer some quiz questions regarding procurement. And then we'll have an open Q&A discussion with OCFO where they'll be able to answer any of your questions regarding procurement best practices. And then, as usual, we want to leave you with some resources and then some closing next steps, including an evaluation survey. So this is the reason why we decided to do a peer discussion webinar. we believe that taking a grantee-centered approach is important. And if you look at our webpage, you'll see some of our values that are important to the TFC. We want to be able to do, we want to provide training and technical assistance that's excellent, that's responsive, that's empowering, and that's also in partnership. And we believe that actually facilitating discussion between peers is just one way that we can do that. We believe that there's no one that knows better about your context, about your unique practice environments there than you yourselves. So this webinar is going to be quite different than the ones that we've done earlier. As you remember, we've done webinars on Just Grants and ASAP and financial monitoring, and also subrecipient subaward management. Today, we want to be able to focus on the topic of procurement. And how we landed on those topics was quite a journey for us. So about a year ago, if you remember, we conducted a needs assessment. This was our way of trying to find out what were the priority topics of each of our grantees, not only the US Virgin Islands, but in the other territories that we serve, including Puerto Rico and the Pacific territories. So that was one of the very first things that we did when we launched this project. And then, if you remember, I believe it was in April that we conducted our kickoff webinar with the US Virgin Islands. We wanted to know what the priority topics were. What were your training and technical assistance needs? So it was another way of asking what were the topics that you would like to be addressed in our learning exchange training series. And then during the course of this year, when you were working with your financial specialists and the training and technical assistance specialist, we were able to confirm what those topics were. So the three webinars that we did early this year with US Virgin Islands was, again, ASAP and Just Grants, and how to prepare for a desk review and a site visit, and then also how to support your subgrantees as a pass-through entity. But during the course of these activities, we were able to find that there was some interest or a need to focus on procurement. So when we did our last Let's webinar, we conducted a poll, and we wanted to know of procurement, what were some of the specific topics that you want to talk about? And we'll share those results later in this webinar. So we took on a pretty thoughtful, kind of intentional approach for this. And so we're hoping that by having the discussion, and we believe that that's the core process, right? We're not able to accomplish all that we want to do today without having a discussion. And we've formulated a few different activities for us to be able to facilitate that discussion. So hopefully you'll feel free to engage in that today. First, we want to start off with a polling question, and Jamil will help us launch that. Thank you, Jamil. And so here's the polling question. So take a few moments to answer this. What are currently your top challenges regarding conducting procurement transactions and proceedings? Is it ensuring full and open competition? Is it engaging in sole source procurement? Is it conducting a detailed price or cost analysis for procurement above $250,000? Is it documenting all steps of a procurement? Or is it another challenge that we didn't list here? Please feel free to type that in the chat box. So thank you for your response there. Just take a few more moments before we close the poll. Right now, it's documenting all steps of your procurement. Yep. So Jamil, why don't we close that poll? And again, thank you for taking the time to do that. All right. So documenting all steps of procurement is one of the challenges, one of the primary challenges. So we can certainly have a discussion around that today, and feel free to ask any question that you have regarding procurement, including the documentation of those steps. So I want to hand our next portion of the webinar to my colleague, Carlin Hertz, who's been working with the U.S. Virgin Islands. And Carlin, we were hoping to introduce Tanisha. Carlin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, good morning.
Okay.
Good morning, Russ.
All right.
Yes, so we originally I'm scheduled for Ms. Peterson, who's a federal grants coordinating specialist with the Virgin Islands Department of Justice, Office Attorney General, to speak regarding procurement. I don't see her online yet, so we may have to just open it up, and maybe if there's another grantee that can maybe speak on or chime into the chat regarding any challenges for the area procurement, and if there were challenges, if they had any solutions that worked, or anything, any tips or pointers they can offer, those that are listening right now, I welcome, that feedback, so we can discuss and maybe come together, with, some more viable options with procurement.
Yep, and if Tanisha joins us later, then we can certainly loop her back in. But yeah, thank you, Carlin.
Absolutely. So again, just want to open it up to other grantees that are on there. You can unmute yourself or put into the chat if any areas of procurement challenge that you faced, any solution that you may have used or worked, or there's any type of situation that may have come up that you have a question about or not sure about. Now is the time to let us know, and we can have some discussion, and as a team, as a group, work together to try to provide some viable solutions for procurement.
Yep, and since we have a small and intimate crowd today, you could certainly you can. Is it Avril? And I'm just trying to see my list here.
Hi, I'm the fiscal financial specialist.
Okay.
I didn't see any of our grant managers online.
Okay.
So I don't really deal with procurement, so I don't have any questions at the moment. Let me see if I can find one of our grant managers to come online.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Avril. And Carlin, if and perhaps you've tried to reach out to Tanisha, maybe she's having some tech issues. So, and I know that
Yeah. Okay, well then I guess we can move on to the quiz, and then try to see if she's having tech issues, get that resolved, and maybe we can circle back to her.
Yep.
We can start the quiz and then kind of go from there, and hopefully we can get a hold of her, and we can move on.
And Anna, thanks for joining us.
Okay, so we prepared about 5 questions for you all regarding procurement quiz. Pretty simple questions, and if you can go to Mentimeter, you see the code 70473931. Put the code in on www.menti.com, and just again 5 quick short questions. Respond best you can, and then we will provide the answers with you.
Thanks, Carlin. So again, if you've never used Mentimeter, go to, again, Mentimeter, I'm sorry, not Mentimeter, www.menti.com. And the code is 70473931. Again, 70473931. And would welcome grantees if OCFO wants to play along, and also any of my colleagues from
There it
TFC.
is. Got one, alien.
And so no need to put in your name. I think we have characters when you sign on. So we have the spade, and disregard any reference to points. The way this is set up is that it's meant to be, it can be competitive, but today we're into learning. So we'll take a few more moments for people to join. Again, that's 70473931. You can join on your cell phone, or if you want to just open up another web page. Okay, and as Carlin mentioned, we have a set of 5 questions, and after each question, you will get, you'll be able to find out the correct answer. So why don't we get started?
Let's get started.
Here we go. And Carlin, you'll read off the questions for us?
Yes, sir. I'm ready to
Okay,
go.
all right.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Question 1. Currently, the federal acquisition regulation micro purchase threshold is 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, or 20,000.
And you'll have about 20 seconds for each of these questions.
Right, time's up. The answer is 10,000. 10,000 is the micro purchase threshold. All right, we'll go to the next question. Question 2. Currently, the FAR regulation simplified acquisition threshold is 100,000, 150,000, 200,000, or 250,000. 10 seconds left to lock in your answer. Currently, the FAR simplified acquisition threshold is. Time's up. We have a dead notch, and the correct answer is 250,000. 250,000. All right, go to the next question. A grantee wants to initiate a procurement for a project with specific requirements. There are 2 qualified bidders willing and able to compete. This is a micro purchase, small purchase, sealed bid, proposal, or sole source. And there are 2 qualified bidders willing and able to compete. What would this be considered? Right. And the answer will be sealed bid. That is correct. So we have 2 that got it right. A sealed bid. All right. We can go to the next question. Great job. A procurement transaction in which purchase cards can be used as long as procedures are documented and approved by the non-federal entity is your micro purchase, small purchase, sealed bid, proposal, or sole source. All right. Yeah, 3 and 8. The correct answer is actually micro purchase.
Carlin, was this the question that we had a discussion on?
Right, that it can kind of go either way with micro purchase or small purchase. So I think either or could be the correct answer. Just because of the thresholds amounts, it's kind of tricky with small purchases when it goes between above micro purchase, but under, a certain amount. So that was the one that, maybe we can discuss later on, but yes, this actually, there's two correct answers, micro and small purchase.
Yep, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this discussion with Michael Williams from OCFO, and he'll be answering some of your questions earlier.
Right.
So yes, thanks for that discussion.
Mhm.
All right.
Another question. Which procurement transaction is used primarily in situations where sealed bids are inappropriate? Micro purchase, small purchase, sealed bid, proposal, or sole source? 10 more seconds. All right. And we have proposal and sole source, and the correct answer is proposal. Proposal is the correct answer. Okay,
Hey, last question.
question.
Here we go.
True or false, independent estimates are not required before receiving bids or proposals. True or false? Independent estimates are not required before receiving bids or proposals. Time's up. And correct answer is false. False. All right. Well, thank you all for participating in the quiz. I'm sure you all did very well. And turn it back over to you, Russ.
Yeah, thanks, Carlin. If there are any of those questions that you want to have a discussion around, if there's anyone that you found particularly confusing or challenging, we, again, want to be able to have that discussion. So again, thank you for your participation. Carlin, do you see the PowerPoint? And I will hand this over to you.
Thanks, Russ, again. So right now I want to introduce Ms. Tanisha Peterson. Ms. Peterson?
Hi,
Hi, how you doing?
I'm fine.
Good. So Ms. Peterson is the Federal Grants Coordinator Specialist with the Virgin Islands Department of Justice, Office of the Attorney General. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
No problem.
How's your morning going?
It is very busy.
Good. Well, good. Well, thank you for taking time out your busy day to carve some time to speak to us. Again, the topic of this peer sharing discussion is procurement. So I just wanted to start off, what challenges have you dealt with in the area of procurement with your job? Is there anything you can speak about specifically?
Okay, so the first area is sort of vendor setup. Some local vendors have some issues with setting up their SAMS.gov. It takes a long period of time, the process they have to go through. They think it's tedious, but we try to, explain to them that this is a process that, if you want to deal with the federal government, or even if you want to deal with our regular, government funding, that they should have it, because it can take you to a lot of places and a lot of opportunities. That's the first thing. The next thing is when they're renewing, because every time they have to do something for us, we really pull the SAM.gov registration to make sure that they're in compliance. We have it in the file. If we notice that we didn't pull it the last time, we pull it again. And if they're out, we'll tell them, well, hey, please do it as soon as possible. The renewal, thank you very much. Another problem is using local and off-island vendors. We try to do local vendors first of all to get, whatever we need to keep the money locally. But sometimes local vendors don't have the products we need, and we need to go to off-island vendors. And then when we go to off-island vendors, the pricing of shipping or, different things, we run into a little bit of problem. So our decision maker is usually we get 3 quotes depending on, we try to get 3 quotes regardless of the amount. And then we, the deciding factor is the cost of the items, the shipping costs for bringing it in, versus a local vendor that we'll have, because one of the 3 vendors is always a local vendor, and sometimes shipping costs are kind of enormous, especially with things going on today.
Okay. Interesting. So what advice would you give the other two other grantees that maybe experience these same type of challenges that you've had?
What we try to do is when we're working on the draft of our grants, we try to actually seek vendors to get quotes. That helps us to know our budget, what we're going with our budget going forward, and also to start a communication or a relationship with the vendor, letting them know what we expect. It also helps us to do the scope of the grant, because we're looking at these vendors ahead of time instead of after we've gotten the award. At least that is like prepping to get through the process a little quicker, that once we turn it into our procurement office, they've already had their SAMS.gov, we've walked them through the process. So once we are ready and set to go, we don't have too many issues. That's what we've been trying to do.
And are you also working on some sort of procurement task force with the governors?
Yes, I'm actually on a grants task force with the governor for the next 2 years. I think they started with all the some of the departments like property procurement, education, human services. Yeah, we're on a task force that we've been working through the issues of the whole grant system as a whole, so that we can combine it and have less days, less holdups. We're working with OMB, who are the budget people, so we could smoothly go through the process and have a process for the whole territory.
Great. That's awesome. That's pretty good information. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Really and truly, another thing that cuts down the time of looking for vendors also is we kind of network with other government agencies, ask their procurement departments, well, who have you used for certain generalized services and stuff, who has a good reputation, they're already in the system.
Good advice.
And that's another less hectic, thing for you to do with your grants, because it already has somebody that's been out there doing it. They have they're credible, or they wouldn't be doing business with them anymore. And you could give them a shot as one of the quotes. And you could also look for your own vendor too if you find something cheaper, but at least you have a starting point.
Right. So it's good if you can reach out to other resources, kind of give you some guidance with that.
Yes.
It kind of can help you out and make your process for you a lot easier by doing that. Okay, great. Well, yeah, that's pretty good. Gave us a lot of good information regarding vendors. So that's a sticky subject for a lot of grantees dealing with vendors. I know there can be a lot of pitfalls and challenges with that. But thank you for sharing, your guidance and your wisdom for this, and good luck with the committee that you're on for procurement governance. Hope everything works out well for you all. So thank you. Thank you for your time, Ms. Peterson. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Tanisha, don't go anywhere. We're going to see if anyone has any questions for you.
Thanks, Russ.
So again, thank you for sharing and actually provided some interesting context.
A lot of good context.
So that's really great. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Tanisha? And I'd like to open this up to any other fellow grantees, especially. But if there's anything from even OCFO or the TFC, any follow-ups with Tanisha? Yeah. Oh, Anna?
Hi, good morning. I agree with Ms. Peterson. We also at LEPC, Law Enforcement Planning Commission, we do reach out to our other government agencies in terms of finding quotes, because it's kind of a little difficult for us trying to reach out and you're trying to find out if they're on SAMS, are they credible or whatever. And sometimes it takes a lot of time and a lot of delays in our process of our awards and our applications and stuff like that. So that's a good point she made. I also do share with those entities that are part of our grants, especially the government agencies, in terms of equipment. And shipping, like she said, is like ridiculous. I mean, you're looking at 10,000 for little stuff. I'm like, cost almost close to the price of the equipment or the supplies that we're trying to purchase off island. Because like she said, our island is very small. We don't have all those items like we need supplies and stuff. So we have to actually reach out overseas to get those supplies and items that we need. So I agree with her, and thank you for the opportunity too.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, the shipping cost, that's unique to any, especially island territory. So, wow. Thank you. And thank you, Anna, for your participation today. Anyone else have a follow-up comment or question for Ms. Tanisha? All right. Well, Tanisha, again, thank you so much.
No problem.
And I'm glad that you're
Anytime.
finally able to join us, and it was well worth it. So thank you again.
Okay.
All right. Let me check the chat to make sure that there's nothing in the chat. Okay. Let us move to some resources. And the resource that that Francis will share here in a second is connected to much of the content that we shared, especially during the quiz. You'll see some of the content that was covered, not only during the quiz, but also with Michael Williams from OCFO in this important resource. So Francis, I'll hand this over to you to share.
Sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Francis Mendez. I'm the project director from TFC. Thank you so much for attending our peer sharing today. I'm here to talk about 2 resources that we're going to make available to you. Next slide. All right. First, we have a guide sheet that has general information and procurement requirements and covers some of the areas we talked about today. You can access the procurement guide sheet if you look at the chat, and you can download it. And then we're also going to be making it available in our website for you to access. So this is a resource that you can distribute to your staff and your colleagues on important things to know about procurement. Next slide. As with all our webinars, after we complete our series, we will be compiling the information in terms of the highlights, the key takeaways, and we'll be sending that to you via email. So this is a resource that you can refer to, and it's also something you can share with your staff and colleagues who have not been able to attend our peer webinars. And thank you again for attending. I'm now going to turn it over to Jamil that will talk about next steps and then close the webinar. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Francis. So I'll go over the next steps and then I'll close out the webinar. Next slide, please. All right. So please take a few moments to complete our webinar evaluation survey. And I just linked it in the chat. You can use that link, or you can use our QR code here on the screen. You can use that by just scanning it with your camera on your phone, and a link should pop up for you. To contact the Virtual Support Center or the VSC, email us at ojptfsc@usdoj.gov. And a response to email inquiries usually takes about 24 hours within the next business day. You can also schedule a consultation call with us, with the financial specialist, and the details are provided in the chat below. Check out our website at ojp.gov/TFSC and sign up for our listserv. The details are also linked in the chat below. Oh, and happy holidays and Happy New Year. On behalf of the OJP TFSC, I would like to thank the presenters, the attendees for a great session. Just a reminder, please complete that webinar evaluation survey. And I just would like to wish everybody a happy holidays, and you may now disconnect.
Thank you, Jamil. Thank you, everyone.